What's up, everyone? It's another episode of 49ers Coast to Coast. Last week it wasn't really coast to coast. It was like coast to Great Lake because Jason was in the Midwest at the draft. How was it? Tell everyone your experience.
Oh, it was amazing. Honestly, you get to do stuff that you thought of when you were a kid. You get to, go by the stadium, rub elbows with the professionals in our field and stuff like that. Honestly, it was a dream come true. Next year is in Vegas, and next year hopefully the credentials will come through early enough for me, so things will go a lot smoother. But honestly, it was a great time. Cleveland is a great city. Everybody was inviting. It was a nice vibe. I really enjoy talking with people from the other fan bases, honestly, when you start to realize how they view their teams and things like that, and how people on the outside looking in view the 49ers, because there's quite so many people that just walked up to me, like when I was wearing my 49ers jacket, like, "Oh, are you ready for Mac Jones?" And I was just like, "Oh, so everybody's in on this joke, like everybody's trolling or whatever." So.
Yeah. Man, so have you recovered though? I mean, was it?
Oh, I'm good.
Excitement? You good?
Yeah, it was. I mean, like I said, I got back, like we were just talking before, I got back Sunday.
Okay.
Literally, like from the night of partying to like straight to the airport, and Sunday was just a complete recuperation day. But we're back, we're ready to go. So
I crashed so hard Saturday night. I mean, in a way I haven't felt in years. I went to my parents' house for dinner, and this wave of exhaustion hit me, and I got the chills. And I feel like I've been sleeping since then. I mean, I come on and do these streams, but I wake up in the morning after 10 hours of sleep, and I'm still tired, man. It's kind of freaking me out a little bit. I think I need to do some rest and relaxation. I think I've been on one for like a year. My body's like,
you have
chill.
And honestly, right after this draft, it felt like there's a sigh of relief, and it's just like, okay, now things are over, right? Yeah, now things are over. Now it's a lot harder to come up with stuff now, because either we're just revisiting what happened, or like we're dunking on the people that were wrong. So it's like it's hard right now, to figure out stuff.
It's hard for me to stay awake right now, but these shows bring out the energy in me, and I can do it for the next 45 minutes.
I got you. 45 sounds good.
So let's talk about Mike McGlinchey. I told myself I was going to be nice to him this offseason, and then he puts himself in a news cycle, and I'm not going to dump on McGlinchey. Let's talk about what he said. He basically went on KNBR and voiced his opinion, or a segment of the locker room's opinion, that Jimmy should be the starter unless he gets clearly beat out, because he's the vet, and they win with him, and they've been through things, and he went to the Super Bowl and all this stuff. Was he talking out of turn? Yeah, probably. But does he represent a segment of the locker room, and is there a divide right now in your opinion? How is this going to play out?
I wouldn't say there's a divide, but I feel like what he said spoke to what many players in that locker room feel. Now, you have to think about this, right? So many of these guys have been here, and their first taste of success was under Jimmy Garoppolo. Yes. So, they're always going to be tied to those feelings. They're always going to be tied to that, and for McGlinchey, he's been here through it all, and finally 2019 was the year that it happened. So you could understand why guys would be on his side and would be saying that he should be the starter. I mean, with all accounts right now on May 6th, he probably is the starter at this point, because, they're not going to move him. It doesn't look like they're going to get what they want for him. So it looks like he is going to be the starter week one. So, it's good to throw your voice your opinion. And I feel like he's voicing an opinion of many in that locker room who feel the same way, because there's guys who have been here longer than him that got their first taste of success when Jimmy Garoppolo showed up. Not only just those 5 games, but we're talking about 2019 as well. So I don't think there's a divide. I think they understand it's a business. Everybody understands what's going on, including Jimmy Garoppolo, and kudos to him. Everything that he's been saying in the media has been perfect. Honestly, he's taken us the exact right way. But yeah, I think there's a large portion of that locker room that feels the way that Mike McGlinchey does, and can you really blame them?
Yeah, I mean, how many players have we heard go to bat for Jimmy Garoppolo in the media repeatedly? McGlinchey's one of them. Richard Sherman, Kittle, Juszczyk. That's 4 of the leaders of the team, 4 captains. And they've been repeatedly gone to the media and be like, man, the media is wrong about Jimmy. We like Jimmy. You guys are making too much out of this. We win. He's a really good player. He doesn't get the credit he deserves. And now it's like the head coach undercut all of them. Like, hey, thanks for going to the media and saying that, but we disagree with you, and we're going to go in this other direction. So I just feel like it might be some of these players, like Juszczyk, they're going to say the right thing, and Kittle, but probably there might be a natural skepticism, like, this guy's really better than Jimmy, huh? Okay, well, let's see it.
Yeah, I think that, I'm not necessarily going to say that they think that he's better than Jimmy, but I think they understand the business. Like, it's like, okay, one more year, and, and when we talked about this is the second straight year that they've tried to move away from Jimmy Garoppolo. So like, it's not something that, whether the front office is telling you, they're showing you with their actions, flirting with Brady, flirting with this guy, flirting with that guy. And finally, it ended up being that they traded up. So I think they understand it's a business, but also, why not throw some confidence behind the guy that's probably going to be starting week 1? And like I said, those guys are emotionally tied to him because of what happened in 2019, I believe.
Yeah. And remember, a little divide is natural and it's not necessarily bad. Like in 2012, when Colin Kaepernick took over for Alex Smith, a large portion of that team felt that wasn't right, that Alex Smith lost his job because of injury and should have been reinserted when he was healthy. The other portion of the team felt Colin Kaepernick was just better. And each side had points, and they still went to the Super Bowl. So a little tension can be okay. It'll be interesting to play out. And I feel like Mike McGlinchey will fall in line if Trey Lance shows that the whole team will, if he makes it clear.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, these guys, loyal to the team, yes, but loyal to yourself, you have to make sure you put good film out there. There's no way that you're going to go out there and tank for anybody else, or you're going to play badly. So that's it. Honestly, these guys, yes, while you have your support for a quarterback, you should be worried about putting your own good film out there, no matter who the quarterback is.
Agreed. Okay, let's switch it up. That's enough quarterback talk, unless someone else has some questions about quarterbacks. Because all we got is speculation. We're talking about the locker room. They haven't let the media in there in over a year. Someone here saying this isn't really journalism. You're right, man. I wish I could get in there and give you the pulse. Hopefully soon, although I've heard not really soon. I think they're going to have practices, but no in-person media stuff for a while. So we're doing the best we can with the limited access. But okay, let's do another projection. Who will be this year's Fred Warner? And the way I look at it is, it's like the second or third year guy who goes from being good to great. Originally, it was Kittle. Then it was Warner. Who do you think it'll be this year?
Javon Kinlaw.
Ooh, that's a good call.
So the only thing is, the reason I'm not going to say Brandon Ayuk is because he showed so much in year 1. But I think that Javon Kinlaw, when you talk about this rotation that's going to be there, and he's going to see a lot of, provided everybody's healthy, let's say even D Ford, steps in, he's going to see a lot of one-on-ones. If he can't do it now when there's a supporting cast around him and hopefully the knee is feeling better, then I guess, you can throw skepticism to him. But I think it's going to be Javon Kinlaw, honestly, when it comes to the second-year player, just based on, what's going to be happening with the rotation. This defense looks like it's going to be a little bit more aggressive, I think, with D'Amico Ryans calling the plays, and I think they're going to try to run a lot more man. So, I think that he's going to have his opportunities to produce, and I'm going to predict that Javon Kinlaw is going to be the guy that breaks out this year.
That's a good call. I'm gonna not cheat, but I'm just saying anyone who hasn't had a Pro Bowl year yet. So like I wouldn't put Nick Bosa in the conversation. I think he's broken out already, but I would put Ayuk in the conversation. I'm gonna go with Debo. I think Ayuk's gonna break out when Trey Lance breaks out, and I'm not sure exactly when that's gonna be. But if Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback again next season, then Debo Samuel is gonna be the MVP of this offense because Jimmy needs him. We've seen it for years now. So I think Debo Samuel, as long as he can not break his foot in June and make it through the year, through the offseason healthy, and he doesn't have any setbacks, doesn't gain 10 pounds, doesn't pull his hamstring, he could have a monster year. Hasn't gotten paid yet. It's got a lot to prove, a lot of money to make. Young still, Debo.
I think that, the thing with Debo's injuries is just like their hamstrings, there's calves and things like that. So it's like, I don't know how you combat that. I don't know what exercises you can do to do that. But yeah, you're right. Honestly, that's the thing that's robbed him of everything that he's been doing, because it's true. When he's on the field, you can make the argument that he's the most important piece of the offense just based on how they go with all the jet sweeps and everything else. And just when he has the ball in his hands, that he's like a running back at the wide receiver position. So yeah, that's a good call too as well.
It seems like he makes everyone's job easier. He's the guy who makes people's job easier. Anyway,
absolutely.
Luke says, I think Jimmy deserves a shot, but it's also the responsibility of the team to want the best option on the field. Trust the QB comp process. Yeah. I do think it's interesting that Shanahan said that Trey isn't ready to compete yet, but he also said the day he got drafted, look, it's up to Trey. If he shows he's ready to compete, then he'll compete. It'll be a natural thing.
Right. Yeah. And Jimmy's not a stranger to this either, right? Tom Brady, who's literally the greatest quarterback of all time, had somebody drafted behind him, which was Jimmy Garoppolo, and it made him uncomfortable. So I think he understands how this works and everything as well. So he has an idea of how this goes, and yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, because what did it do to Tom Brady if he started to go harder because he thought that people were already starting to disrespect him by saying, hey, Your contract. Remember when they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo, it was, hey, your contract, hey, you're declining.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff that maybe Jimmy's hearing. So if it lights a fire under him, then what's wrong with that? There's no problem with that. I mean, it's just, will he take that? Will he take that as extra motivation, or will he just say, you know what, I'm still just going to do what I do and play how I play?
This is a really good point. And it's the one I've been trying to make, and I feel like I've been making it poorly. Raymond says, everyone's forgetting that Jimmy is not a bridge. He's right. It's unfortunate, but he's injury prone. Just think on one of his longest runs, 13 yards, he tore his ACL. That's true. Can you rely on Jimmy to give Trey time to develop? We don't know that Trey needs time ready week 1. But if the Niners say he needs 2 months, 3 months, whatever the timeline is, and then Jimmy goes down before that, do you throw that timeline out and put Trey on the field? I think not. I think that's what's cool about having Josh Rosen is if Jimmy goes down too early, you are allowed to trust the process and stick with the plan with Trey Lance if you feel that it's necessary.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? So we've talked about all the doomsday scenarios, right? With this,
right.
As far as like, okay, if Jimmy goes out there and either hurts himself or doesn't play well, then that's and then his contract gets harder to move out of. That's why this deadline up to June 1st felt so important, because it gave them that out to save all that money and all those things. But if you go in with that as him, being the bridge, and he doesn't do anything, or if he's injured, then you're just like, you've lost all your trade value for him. Like, you've lost everything for him, unless somebody stupidly pays up for him. So I mean, it's an interesting discussion. Again, I think that he's going to be on the team just because there's lack of partners now. When you talk about Denver going for Teddy, and you all these other people, who have now New England's out. That's not happening. That's just not happening. So New England's out. Denver looks to either be trying to lure Aaron Rodgers, and they had Teddy Bridgewater. Washington, who knows? And next year's draft class isn't exactly deep as of right now. So, yeah, I mean, this was the thing that we were worried about. So if Jimmy goes out there and he doesn't play well, then you're like torpedoing any of trade value that he had now for the few teams that would be interested in his service.
And it's going to be interesting to me how they break down the reps in training camp. Like, of course, Jimmy's going to get the first team reps at first. And then is it just going to be like a split with Trey Lance with the first team, a real comp? Or if he's not ready, is Trey Lance going to be splitting reps with Nate Sudfeld or Josh Rosen? Because if Jimmy gets hurt, they have to get one of those two ready to fill in like mop-up duty while Trey Lance is developing in AAA, so to speak.
The question that I have for you is,
yes,
you've been at camp, you've seen Jimmy Garoppolo in camp. He's not a practice player.
No.
So if they're basing this competition off of practice, that worries me. He seems to be more of a gamer than he is a practice player. And I'm not just talking about the 5 interceptions before the Denver game thing. I'm just talking
That's why I bet my dad a $50 bottle of wine that Trey's going to be starting week 1. I think he can pull this off. But I also saw Kaepernick at 23 as a rookie. Now, he didn't play under center in college. But just like the mechanics of being a quarterback on the Niners, he couldn't get the ball from under center. He kept fumbling. So he's like, okay, well, we'll see you next year. I don't think that's going to happen with Trey. He did this stuff in college, but if there's any part of like, if he struggles with the terminology, since it's new to him and he's only known it for like a couple of months, everyone says he should pick it up, but who knows? Then he's not in a position to compete. That's where it's like the burden of proof is on him.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point. Yeah.
Will Trey Lance start preseason? Yeah. He's going to
probably week 1. Probably week 1. They won't start Jimmy week 1 in preseason. No, I don't think. Yeah.
Good point. When do you think the Niners are going to extend Warner's contract? We talk about it every few weeks and they don't do it.
This will probably be an in-season move, I think, or maybe right before camp starts. I don't know.
Okay. They really expect him to come to camp without a rework deal. Wow.
I don't know. I don't know if they do. I mean, here's the thing, right? I mean, you
can't really hold out anymore, right?
Right. And Parag is, great with, however, everybody has their own Parag. So, to push numbers around and stuff like that. It's just, where's the kid? Remember, so last year, the 49ers ran into a place where they couldn't even bring up practice squad people, right? Because they didn't have enough money to pay them and stuff, right? So I don't know what the cap situation is right now or where they're at, because they still have to sign the rookies. And they still are probably going to bring someone else in free agency, like a Golden Tate, to be like a wide receiver 3 competition, because right now, yes, you've got wide receiver 3 options. I love Austin Watkins. Richie James is there. There's other options. But can you bank on that? Jalen Hurd, can you bank on any of those things? No. At least with Golden Tate, he fits the play style. He's experienced in this league, and he's going to want to take a deal that's worth nothing so he can just be there and compete. And also, he gets to see his buddy 2 times a year, Jalen Ramsey. Why wouldn't he want to sign up for that, honestly, and be a 49er? So there's a lot of money that needs to be allocated to other places because this team is basically complete, but it's still not fully fleshed out, I feel like, especially when you're talking about the depth chart, especially at wide receiver 3.
That's fair. They don't need to do this in May or June or July. But, well, I think they need to do it in July because with Kittle, they did it the week before he went to camp. They made him sweat it out as part of the negotiation, but they took care of him and they didn't make him go through training camp, risk injury. I mean, honestly, if he hadn't signed that extension and broke his foot and missed 8 games, it would have cost him a lot of money.
Yeah.
They didn't do that to him. And so if they had, well, I think it would have hurt the relationship. You know, it's a slap in the face, I think. I mean, I don't know. It depends on the player, but you might take that personally.
I mean, I don't know that I would. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not a football player, but I don't know Fred. Honestly, Fred seems very mild-mannered and everything as well. But, you know, honestly, yeah, it would probably behoove them to take care of it before he risks himself in any way in injury. So, yeah, I agree with you on that point.
Yeah, good point. Max says, do you think the quarterback coach is going to force Lance to slide after he runs? He likes to go head first into tackles in the NFL. That could be dangerous.
I hope so. You know, when I've been watching a lot of his film, he's just like, I know he's a big guy and you can truck people in the FCS. I don't want to see you doing that in the NFL. I really don't want to see you doing that in the NFL. So I hope so. I hope he does start to learn how to slide.
Does Josh Allen slide?
Not really.
Not really.
Not really. But
he's bigger than Trey right now.
Yeah, right? Isn't he like, he's like an inch or 2 bigger than him? Yeah.
He's like 250, man. Yeah.
Right.
245. Yeah.
Yeah. Still, I mean, hey, he can get through what? You know, the first 2 years he didn't. He can get through 3 years like that. It's just you worry about that type of thing, you know. And Trey's young, but still, I would still like to see him get down. Like, that's the one thing that I'll give Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson is that they know how to get yards and scramble, but they never take any hits, really. Like, you never see them get hit. And that's what you really want.
Kaepernick was always the same way.
Yep.
All right. Who will be this year's Richard Sherman? This is the opposite of the Fred Warner. Sorry, Richard, nothing against you, but it's just the older player who has been defying age and finally falls off.
Man, this one's tough, honestly. I mean, I know you told me
there may not be one.
About it.
There may not be one, but
that's what I'm thinking.
To pick one, yeah.
That's what I'm thinking, only just because everybody else is so young. Like, there's not really too many guys on their last leg. Like, this might be D Ford's last chance.
It could be D Ford.
Yeah.
It could be Raheem Mostert.
It could be Mostert's last. Yeah. So Mostert's already 29. You know, that's the thing. It could be just like the last hurrah for them. We know the cliff after 29 and into 30 for running backs is steep.
Yep.
You know, very few guys really survive that. Especially with somebody whose play style is like Mostert is, where he gets injured a little bit, you know, because of the hits that he takes and stuff like that, even though that he's a speedster. Yeah, I don't know, honestly. That one's really hard, honestly, because Sherm, you got to remember, Sherm's at like 33, 34 years old. I don't think there's anybody on this roster that's that old that would have some sort of drop off like that, unless somebody younger just completely drops off. I would probably say either Raheem Mostert or D Ford. I
think there's 2 more candidates. Alex Mack. He's 36.
Okay, that's a really good one.
I'm not predicting that he will, but he's in the discussion. And then the last one, which I think is uncomfortable to talk about for Niner fans,
Trent Williams.
He's so important. I wouldn't even put Trent Williams in that discussion.
No.
Jason Verrett. Verrett. He's a 30-year-old corner with an injury issue. I mean, it's tough to say what you're gonna get from him going forward. Although there's no reason to think that he's gonna fall off, but he could. 30-year-old corners, it happens.
No, there is a discussion to be had whether last year was the exception of the rule. You're right about that. You know,
I wouldn't bet against him. He's just in the discussion.
Yeah, that one I have a harder time believing, but that other one that was really good. The Alex Mack one is the one that probably is the one. Yeah, that's a good one.
I don't expect that's not the case. Yeah, and I don't expect Trent Williams. I mean, he's not that old. Is he 31, 32? Mm-hmm. Okay,
31.
Who's going to lead the 49ers in rushing? This is kind of a fantasy football question, but I'm curious. I mean, who's going to be the starter? Who's going to make it through the season? Who do you think is going to end up leading this team in rushing this season?
Trey Sermon. You know, honestly, you know, they didn't draft. So again, I'll take my little victory lap. Everybody says, hey, you're not drafting running backs. Kyle Shanahan doesn't draft running backs. Drafted 2. Told you guys. You have to address the position. Mostert's not under contract. Wilson's not under contract. I love them both, but they get injured. Now what happens if both of them get injured? Nobody knows what they're going to get from Jermichael Hasty. Nobody knows what Austin Walter is. Wayne Gallman's solid, but for me, I think he's the odd man out when it comes to what they did. If you noticed the skill sets, Trey Sermon profiles as more of a bell cow. Elijah Mitchell profiles like Raheem Mostert. Same deal.
That's true. Yes.
Same deal. Same guy, fast, everything. So this tells you what they think about their running back room going forward. Jeff Wilson's fine. They've gotten a ton from him. Raheem Mostert's amazing. Chip Kelly brought him in, and they did what they could with him, but they're not under contract next year, and it's time to replenish the running back room, and you do that cheaply with two young guys like that who fill the same sort of roles, one, that you needed, and two, that you've already been used to with Raheem Mostert, because Elijah Mitchell can slide right into that role within a year or two. And, there's nothing – depth is wealth, and it doesn't matter, how much you can get from undrafted free agents. Sometimes you gotta make the move in the draft. And we talked about it. Clinton Portis got drafted. They drafted Joe Williams, so it's not like they just don't care about the position. So I'm just glad that Kyle Shanahan did what we thought he was going to do. Even if I wanted Javonte and Denver went up and traded for him, but I knew that they were going to address that position. They had to in the draft, no matter for the running backs don't matter crowd, no matter how much that makes you upset. They still had to do it. They had to. And they picked two great guys that fill roles that were, one, needed, and two, that they're used to using.
I think that this duo of Raheem Mostert and Trey Sermon might be the best 1-2 punch the Niners have had since I can remember, honestly. Since like Ricky Waters and William Floyd. I mean, theoretically, it's a perfect complement. I mean, you got the fastest running back in the league and a guy who can become a bell cow. Like a guy who profiles as like a more upright Frank Gore.
Yep, that's what I saw too. That's what I saw too when I was watching him. It looked like a guy who he'll take the hit, but he'll stumble a little and keep going. And that reminded me of Frank too. I'm not trying to say that he's going to play for 85 years like Frank. I'm just saying that like when I watch him run, he reminds me of the same way.
And Gore, I feel like, made himself like 5'5" when he ran. He was so low to the ground, and that's not Trey Sermon. But in the outside zone, you don't necessarily have to make yourself. That's the whole thing. You can have upright runners. You're running outside as much more anyway. But so I love the compliment. I think Mostert's going to start off as the starter because he's the vet, and for him to lose it, he's not going to lose it on performance. I mean, he always performs. It's just, is he going to get hurt?
That's what I think.
If he gets hurt, Trey Sermon will end up winning, leading the team in rushing. But you know what? Remember Office Space? I'm a Michael Bolton fan. I'm a Raheem Mostert fan. Right?
I celebrate the man's entire catalog.
I'm a Raheem Mostert fan. I'm saying he's going to stay healthy this year and lead the team in rushing. I think he's going to be top 10 in the league in rushing. This guy, if he could get 15 carries a game, 16, 17 games, he'll be up there. I'm gonna bet on him and say it's Mostert. But either way, this team could rush for 3,000 yards next year
easily, especially if Trey's a starter.
Yeah, no question. All right, now who's going to lead this team in receiving?
Brandon Ayuk.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. Why? So who's the starter?
I don't know. I mean, I'm betting on Trey. I think Trey. I've seen Jimmy. I think Trey's going to be a quick study. I think he's going to beat Jimmy out quick. What do you think?
So if Trey starts, then it's definitely Ayuk. They're working out together. They're wearing the same jersey, or logo and stuff like that. So that makes people excited. But I think it's Ayuk just because, he, for 1 year, he was injured just a little in the beginning of the year, but Debo continues to be injured every year. So out of necessity, it might feel like he's going to be like that. And look, we love George. I love George Kittle. There's a good possibility he's going to miss 2 or 3 games. So you can't really say that it's going to be him either.
It's true.
With Ayuk, I'm going to bet on him being the healthiest out of all of them, playing the most games, getting the most reps and snaps. And when Debo was out, remember, he ran those same touch passes and sweeps with him and those quick throws to the corner for him. So, I mean, I think that the sky's the limit for Brandon Ayuk. I think he is still the best receiver on this team as far as receiving chops go. And even if Jimmy's a starter, they're going to find a way to get the ball in his hands, especially if the team is dealing with injuries throughout the year, especially with an extra game. But yeah, I'm going to take the safe bet and say Brandon Ayuk.
Hey, if Ayuk leads his team in receiving, then he'd be a pretty good bet for the 49ers Fred Warner Award that we just created. Let's just say. I mean, then he would, if that's what he's going to do, then I'd put him in as, although if Kinlaw gets 10 sacks, he'd be in the discussion too.
10 sacks, that's a lot.
8 would be good. They would probably take great. 6.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that's a fair call. Hard to put it on Kittle. He seems to be missing games. Ayuk has probably got to be Dwelly at this point. And I think Dwelly's got a chance. Here's the thing. Dwelly could lead the team in receiving touchdowns. No joke. If they actually use him in the red zone, because they got like 40 targets to replace between Reed and Bourne. I know Ayuk's going to get a ton of them, but Dwelly can get some too. Yeah, Ayuk can lead this team in receiving. I agree.
Help him
Dwelly's dark horse.
help get Dwelly out there, man, in the red zone. Hey, listen to the quality control coach, man.
When have I let you down? And the fact that they didn't draft a tight end makes me feel like they're listening, like they're thinking along the same lines.
Yep.
Lucky World says, seems like everyone is rushing Trey to play, but I think Kyle is going to wait for the retooling year, which should be next year with all these one-year deals. Let me tell you what I think real quick, and you tell me what you think. I think this is going to be not necessarily Kyle's call. I mean, is it a decision, or is it just evident to the whole world at a certain point?
I don't know, honestly. And again, I think it's going to boil down to, one, how healthy Jimmy is, two, how well he's playing. Here's the thing. Here's the problem that I have with this, too. I mean, as much as I'm fine with Jimmy starting, but here's the part that worries me about it. Jimmy airmails a pass in a big game against Seattle or Arizona or LA, and the fans start where's Trey? Where's Trey? Where's Trey? And that starts, if he has one bad game, everyone's going to start, honestly. It's going to start right away. And I think that he's going to have the shortest leash as far as shortest leash that as the fan base will give him, honestly. Now, obviously, if you listen to Michael Lombardi, Kyle Shanahan's going to cave to the pressure, of outside noise. But I don't think he will. It's just that that's a distraction. Jimmy's gonna have to stand in front of his locker and every day, after practice, answer questions about how you feeling mentally. Are you good to go? That's kind of hostile, honestly. Really, yeah. It's not, and like we were saying, it's not a placeholder thing. It's almost just like you're here because we couldn't really move you anywhere. So
Jimmy, the fan base can't stand you. Your face, they just don't want to see it anymore. They'd like to get you out of town. How does that make you feel? Take us through your emotions as they boo you.
Right. That's what I mean, man. Like, I'm just scared I'm scared that is going to become toxic. The whole idea of, he has a bad game. He struggles for a quarter. He struggles for, a drive, and people are, we want Trey.
One more thing. If Trey outperforms Jimmy in training camp, we're all going to report it. Fans are going to know. If Trey outplays Jimmy Garoppolo in preseason, fans will know. You don't have to be a football expert to dissect this stuff. It'll be clear as day, and I feel like the fans will make their decision. And if Kyle holds Trey back, that's on him. But as you said, it's just going to make every missed throw is going to be scrutinized, and he's going to get booed. I mean, Jimmy's going to have to play. Even if he plays great, it may not be enough because fans are ready for Trey.
And if Kyle Shanahan was upset, in that press conference before the draft, imagine him having to sit up there after a loss and take a bunch of, like, are you getting ready to move to Trey questions or anything like that. Like, coach is going to lose it, honestly. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to create a situation that's a little bit more toxic than I think that they want. But, yeah, that's my fear, honestly. That really is. Like Jimmy would have to go out there and just be, like, dominant. Like, not just like a part of the team, not just a guy who's running the offense, like dominant to keep that stuff away from people trying to call for his head. Yeah.
And if I were the head coach of this team, the way I'd be looking at it is it's not really going to be a decision that I have to make. It's going to be obvious at a certain point that this guy's our quarterback. At a certain point, it's going to be obvious that all I have to do at this point is just kind of lower expectations. Be like, he's 20. He's not competing. We're learning. And then first day of practice, he just tears up Jimmy Garoppolo and the whole defense. Hey, wow, what a pleasant surprise. You know what I mean? Great, we got our quarterback. I feel like you can under promise, over deliver, and take the pressure off of them. But it's always going to be a competition, no matter what you call it, no matter what you say, how you structure it. You understand what's at stake. And once Trey shows it, it's over, Jimmy. Goodbye.
Yeah, he's going to be looking over his shoulder this entire time that he's playing. I hope it doesn't affect his decision making or anything like that. But yeah, he's going to have to deal with that all year.
Yeah, Tom Brady dealt with it. Now it's your turn, Jimmy. Thomas Norton says, is McFlopman's attitude indicative of a lack of accountability on the O-line? How can this be solved? Last year I thought yes, but this year I think Alex Mack could bring the accountability. I think that's a really important word. What do you think?
Yeah, you're right. It's troubling. Like last year after McGlinchey had, a good game. Oh, I'm still here. Man, that means you're listening to what people are saying. And then when you say in your comments, oh, well, it's easy for you to be on Twitter and cut up a play. Man, get off of Twitter. Why are you on social media? Why are you listening to people? So that's the right. Or just study your playbook. Honestly, like what? Like I'll never I understand.
Do it again twice in a row. Come on, yeah.
I understand players because they're younger, they want to use social media. I'm cool with that. I'm fine with that. I don't care about your TikToks and stuff like that. But when you start to use it as a way to fuel you, and then after one good game, you proclaim yourself still here, it's like, man, listen, You got to string together a bunch of games in a row before you can start saying stuff like that. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with standing up in front of the camera and saying, you know what, I need to play better. I need to work on some things. Like, I don't see what's wrong with that. Like, why would people be upset with you saying that? That you need to fix something or you need to do better at this and that.
It doesn't take anything away from you, Mike. It makes you look better.
It does, I think. I think in the way I look at it is that it does make you look better. It definitely makes you look better.
I mean, you don't want to tell what he's saying is, hey, fans, I respect your passion, but you know what the hell you're talking about. You know what the hell you're looking about. And Grant, you're trying to make me look bad. Nah, man, you're making yourself look bad. All you got to say is, I'm on it, I'm fixing it, and fans will have your back. But when you go out and you're like, actually, it's not that bad. Actually, I just had a good game. Fans are going to be on you too because they're not dumb. They're not. Niner fans are very smart.
And think about how many times somebody brings up McGlinchey, and if you just look under a tweet, it just says everybody's saying still here, he's still here, he's still here. You've turned that into now the thing that everybody's going to use. So that's my thing. It's like, stop responding to people on Twitter. Stop looking at what people are saying. Just work. That's it. Just work. I don't understand why you need to look at people's tweets. And
so again, last year, look, I felt Joe Staley brought out the best of Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey's always had issues. I mean, he's not great in pass protection. He is a good run blocker. When Joe Staley was on the line, McGlinchey was accountable. He was 315 pounds. He made his weight. He seemed strong enough. He seemed like a legit right tackle. Last year, I felt like, I don't know, I wasn't in the locker room, but I just got the vibe that Trent Williams' attitude was, man, I got me. You're responsible for you. I'm not even sure if I'm going to be here next year. And that's fine. And McGlinchey suffered because of it. Alex Mack is here, and it seems like he has the reputation of a Joe Staley type who's gonna demand accountability, and you always need a player. It can't be a coach. It has to be a player. Hopefully Alex Mack brings out the best in McGlinchey.
And Alex Mack isn't here to just play his career away. He wants to compete for a championship. That's so right. I'm certain that he's going to be like that with those guys as well.
And from what I heard, Trent Williams was never that kind of a leader in Washington, which is fine. I mean, just be yourself. Alex Mack, this is who he is. It's him being himself as leading. So good signing if he's still got it. Definitely.
Yeah. And Trent probably is a lead by example guy. Like, I've seen him in the huddle, getting guys hype and stuff like that. That's fine. But it doesn't necessarily mean that he's like one of those like get up in a meeting type guys. Like when you watch him go about his business and the way that he prepares and the way he's wrecking guys, that should be enough motivation for you because he's the best left tackle in the game.
Let's put it this way. He's not going to hold Mike McGlinchey's hand. Okay. Joe Staley held Mike McGlinchey's hand. Mm-hmm. Hey man, let's go up to the hotel room and watch film. Come on. Right. And I think Alex Mack is probably going to do that too. Now, you shouldn't have to hold a 27-year-old right tackle's hand, but that's what they got, and they need to. And I think Alex Mack will. Trent Williams is not going to do that. I'm sorry. And you know what? I don't think I'd want to either.
Right.
I don't think I would want to. Lucky says Rosen should be back. Hold on. I'm trying to read here. Rosen should back up. He had the playbook since last year. People sleeping on him. Best team, best coach he ever had on the pro level. Best quarterback, Kyle era. I like all the stuff you're saying. And I do think that Rosen should start off as number 2, just as another way to take the pressure off of Trey and be like, Trey, you're learning. And we're not going to throw you in before you're ready. But if Trey's ready, goodbye, Josh. If Trey's ready, goodbye, Jimmy. I mean, yeah, if Trey's not ready, Rosen's a great buffer. Say, hey, Rosen, you go out there and lose the way Nick Mullins did last year because Jimmy's hurt and we're not ready. But if Trey's ready, goodbye, Josh.
Have you thought about this? I think this is pretty interesting. Josh Rosen's been on 3 teams. Every team that he's been on has picked a quarterback in the top like 5 or 6. Honestly, every team.
Worst luck. Yeah. Hey, they did it again.
I've never seen a quarterback's career trajectory like this, honestly. Literally year to year, people just drafting newer guys around you when you had such high pedigree and stuff like that, honestly. So, I mean, look, I don't know where Josh Rosen is. It is. It's just a funny coincidence.
I mean, 35 years ago, teams did not give up on quarterbacks as quickly. Like,
no way.
When Steve Young was 24, he was trash. Sorry, Steve. Like, he really had to learn how to play the position and was given out the time and the opportunity. Now, Rosen could be like on a country club playing tennis at 26, the rest of his life being like, yeah, that went quick. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened.
Strange. We'll look back. Yeah. They should do a 30 for 30 on Josh Rosen's career about how, getting shipped from one place to the next and literally taking quarterbacks to replace you. Well, not replace him here, but it's just funny that he's on his 3rd team and they've drafted another quarterback in the top 10 around him. It's just, how much more can this guy take?
I keep trying to go back to like, what are the reps going to be in camp? Last year it was Jimmy gets half and then Mullins and Beathard split the other half. What are they going to do this year? They got Sudfeld is going to throw passes in camp. Is Rosen going to throw passes in camp? What is that going to be?
I think they like Sudfeld, man.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, Doug Peterson playing Sudfeld that last game got him fired. So I don't know what it is.
Well, that was to screw the Giants, and they did it again. And in draft day, they linked up with the Cowboys to move in front of the Giants. I thought that was hilarious.
That video, that guy punching holes in his wall, and his wife sending him to his room was so funny,
dude.
So
and that Giants fan that I found last year that was yelling about Nick Mullins, his reaction video to that draft trade is electric. I'll make sure I DM you that after.
TW again says Jimmy's post June 1 dead cap hit is under $2 million each of the next 2 seasons. Why aren't there more talk of a post June 1 cut for Jimmy?
I don't know. I mean, it just depends on really what they feel like they have. Remember, so the schedule came out for off-season programs and everything. Rookie camp's going to start in May. I think they'll get a better idea of where Trey's at with the playbook and how he's looking. And then they'll make a decision then. So it's hard to make a decision right now, especially when he's had the playbook for maybe 4 or 5 days.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, even if Trey's a better quarterback and he's a brilliant person, how much he can memorize it? How much can he internalize an entire playbook in a month? That's a lot to ask. And if he can't do it, is he a bum? Hey, Trey's not ready in May. He sucks. Like
that 21-year-old.
No, that's your first round pick in 2023, man. I just think of him as like he's in AA, and if he proves that he's better than that, good for Trey. But you don't have to put that expectation on him. If he tears it up in OTA, then I guess they can cut Jimmy.
Yeah. But he'd have to tear it up. But he'd have to tear it up against the first team defense, and they'd just be like, "Look, we can't stop this guy." They'd have to say things like that.
They've said so much on the record, especially Lynch and Kyle too, that they don't want to play a young quarterback before he's ready. I think what they're saying is, what happened to CJ? CJ was not ready. He got ruined. Trey might be ready, but if he's not, they don't want to do that again. And Jimmy gives them the flexibility to do whatever is necessary. I just want him to be ready week 1, so I win my bet with my dad. Come on. It's important because I lose all the bets.
Lose all the bets to your dad.
Lose all the bets. That's all we got today, man.
That's great. How was your dad, by the way?
He's doing a lot better than me, man. He's up and around. He's got a little bit of a cane that he uses when he's outside, but in the house, he's doing his thing, man. So
that's good. I'm happy to hear Mr. Cohn's doing well.
Absolutely, man. Thanks. Real quick before we go, Lucky's got us. I thought Kyle said Cap wouldn't fit with. Okay, here we got to do it.
All right,
I knew this would happen if they drafted Trey Lance, man.
Let's talk.
I thought Kyle said Cap didn't fit what we were trying to do in 17. Now he drafts Lance, same quality. So what was the real reason?
All right. In 17, he didn't like quarterbacks like that in his offense. Bottom line. Doesn't mean that he wouldn't fit. And I never bought that narrative that Cap wouldn't have worked. I never bought that narrative at all, ever. And it had nothing to do with the protests, anything like that. He really, really wanted Kirk Cousins. And that's what he was looking for. That's really what he really wanted. He wanted.
But again, he could have kept Kaepernick one more year instead of going to Brian Hoyer. That was amazing. Amazingly bad.
Please don't remind me. Yes, I would have loved to have seen that. And that's the thing. When people tell me, "Oh, he's not a fit," well, why not? RPO, runs, wide open throws off of play action. What exactly couldn't Kaepernick
let's just say it, man. Let's just say it. I mean, I think the political stuff. Remember how everyone said at the time? I said it at the time. He's a distraction. He's bigger than the team. He's bigger than the sport. I think that was probably it, man. I think
maybe it factored in. Maybe it factored into it, but I don't want to speculate on something like that. I think that more. I'm gonna speculate on Shanahan's
That's some explosive speculation.
No,
really say that it was all schematic, I feel like is a little naive.
I wouldn't say that it's schematic. I would say that Kyle's observations of quarterbacks have changed. And in 17, he wasn't locked in on guys like that. Like he didn't want to have a guy like that in his offense because he still wanted that point guard type because of what he had with how Matt Ryan performed. And like I said, he liked Kirk a lot. So yeah, I'm just going to put it on the fact that Kyle's quarterback evaluations have changed. Unfortunately, he probably made a wrong decision then. Not probably, he did. I would have loved to have seen Cap over Brian Hoyer that year. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that I can't speculate on it being a protest, but I will say that it was more about probably what Kyle thought about quarterbacks at that time, which has clearly changed.
Also, I do feel that there was a contingent of coaches in the league that were down on Cap, not for the political stuff. No. You could hear Chip Kelly say it. I think Chip Kelly took the job for Cap. But then he got there. And he's like, man, this is not the same Cap that Harbaugh was coaching. Harbaugh's Cap was 235 and probably the best athlete in the league.
He went vegan.
And it wasn't just that he went vegan, but he had like 3 surgeries and didn't work out over the summer and came back like 20 pounds lighter. And that was not the same athlete. And I think what Kyle would say is like, hey, man, we got young Cap or better. Young Cap is a quarterback everyone would want. Older Cap, not so much. Young Cap, hell yeah. So who's to say that Kyle would have sent a 24-year-old Colin Kaepernick packing? I'm not certain that he would have. 30-year-old, that's a different thing.
Yeah, and especially coming off of what everybody was saying. One read, can't read a field, but, what is it? 16 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, thrown to guys like DeAndre Smelter and Jeremy Curley and, and Garrett Selleck, an all-star lineup of Sean Drone. People always love to talk about Cap, but then they never bring up the point of, well, nothing against Chip Kelly, wasn't the best coach. That scheme was outdated. And 2, that roster was barren. It was just horrible. I mean, and
his efficiency that season was good, even though he lost every game. I mean, it's not like he was the best player on that offense. Wasn't Jeremy Curley.
Torrey Smith wasn't even there anymore. It just they had nothing there for him. He was doing the best he could at that point. But I feel like a lot of things that people had already been saying about him, they tried to magnify in that year and use that as the reason, oh, look how bad he was. Yeah, well, numbers will show you different, and also that roster. You need to have that sort of context when you talk about Kaepernick. It's not as all easy as black and white. It's just the numbers or this. Dude, DeAndre Smelter's not a good player. Jeremy Curley's not even in the league anymore. Sean Drone's not in the league anymore. These were guys that were starting games every week for them, and it's weird.
All I'm saying is Lucky World's question is totally legit.
It is.
It's totally fair. And Kyle Shanahan getting rid of Kaepernick and replacing him with Brian Hoyer for a year was just a bad decision. There's no other way to put that. It was just a bad decision.
That was Kyle trying to be smarter than everybody else.
Yeah. And maybe he's not doing that as much anymore. Or maybe he has a better working relationship with John Lynch, and Lynch feels more comfortable to be like, hey man, I'm gonna push back now. I don't know how much Lynch pushed back in 2017, but maybe Lynch has found his voice a little bit more. I have no idea how it works in that organization, but it seems to be working better. So that's good.
Yeah,
last one. Yo, Cap opted out because he didn't want to work for QB1, and I support Cap 100%.
That's speculation. I don't know about that.
Yeah, my feeling with Cap is that he kind of lost the fire he had when he was tearing it up after they benched him. But I don't know. I don't really know him. It's possible I'm wrong. I think that Trey Lance is more in it for the love of the game than the love of the fame than Colin Kaepernick is all I'm going to say. And not to take a shot at Kaepernick, I'm just saying I think Trey Lance really is going to progress and be good into his 30s. He's going to be one of these mobile quarterbacks who is good after he's no longer mobile. I think that's what makes him so intriguing. Not that Kaepernick couldn't have been that guy, but he didn't get there. Cam didn't get there.
I remember draft pedigree too. Picked at 3 and picked in the second round is 2 different things and 2 different expectations. So Trey Lance is going to have to work his ass off, honestly, because of those expectations that come with being taken 3, especially being the guy that Kyle Shanahan traded up for to go get. Those expectations are going to be high. He's going to have to work. So I hope he understands all those things because it's completely different. A second-round quarterback and a 3rd overall pick have 2 different expectations to them. So,
also, it's hard to say what Trey Lance is going to be like when he's 23 and the most famous quarterback in the world. That's hard. How does a young man respond to that? My perception of Kaepernick when he got drafted is he was a really nice, down-to-earth guy who was a lot like me, 2 months older than me, from Turlock. I thought, man, this guy's I could be friends with this dude. Super down-to-earth. And then in a week, he went from backup to the most famous quarterback in the league, and it was
on Sports Illustrated.
How do you stay normal? I think it's hard. So we'll see what Trey Lance's career arc is. If he goes from no one, chilling at North Dakota State to the talk of the league do you stay? What happens to you? It'll be interesting. I'm not saying that I have never met the guy. I don't know, but it's all very heady stuff for a dude who's not even 21 years old yet. It's hard. You look at him and he looks like he's 27. It's man, that guy's amazing. But no, he was 18 2 years ago. So it'll be very interesting to see where he's at. What kind of maturity he's got when he gets rich, because he's about to be rich.
Yep.
And as someone who's rich, just gotten money the last few, it changes you. I mean, I'm way different. I don't even respond to your texts anymore, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I know. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
A couple more good streams, and you guys are never going to hear from me again, man. I swear.
I'm
Darnay
gonna
says
take every shot I can.
Lynch gave Cap an ultimatum: out or get released. That's true. Lynch on record on KBR radio. Yeah, that's true. He didn't. Yeah, they were going to cut him, and they basically were like, we'll save you the embarrassment. Just cut it. Just opt out.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
that is what happened. Jason, thank you very much. The hell of a show.
Thank you, Grant. And yeah, man, please don't big time me. Answer my text sometimes if I send you a text, man.
What was that? Sorry. I mean, yeah. All right, man. Same time, same place next week. See you, man.
All right, bro. Later, man.